America's golden age is just getting started. Be here with us for every moment. Never been a better time to join DailyWire Plus. Use code 47 for 47% off your annual membership. Yesterday, at a national prayer service to cap the inauguration festivities for President Trump, the priestess in charge of the National Cathedral decided to lecture our president on the importance of transing kids and ignoring immigration law.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples.
Hold on. Before we get to the trans kids, before we get to the supposed immorality of immigration law, they fill our synagogues and temples? This lady thinks the Honduran peasants flooding into our country illegally are Jews? I'm pretty sure there is precisely one Jew in all of Latin America, and he's the president of Argentina. Coincidentally, I actually met him at one of the inauguration parties. Also coincidentally, I happened to be in the National Cathedral for this chickie's heretical and ridiculous remarks. I was actually pretty close to President Trump and Vice President Vance during this. The looks on their faces were hilarious. No one, however, should be surprised by the remarks of this fake priestess lady. It is no wonder that a woman who would mistake herself for a bishop might also confuse a foreign national for an American citizen, or even a little boy for a little girl. So we're going to bring a little bit of reality to that fantasy show that went on yesterday. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. So much has happened in the last 24 hours. I have finally returned from the imperial capital, where I happened to actually be present for some of these wild things. But a lot going on, not just on the ceremonial level, but on the executive level. We have now gotten our first spate of pardons for all of the January 6thers. We'll get to that in a moment. First, though, I want to tell you about something that President Trump is not getting enough credit for. People are looking at Trump's expression in the National Cathedral, and President Trump, he's looking kind of a little tired. You know why Trump was tired? Because President Trump has been moving nonstop for days. I was sitting there not too far from where he was. And all of us are looking haggard, tired, all these inauguration parties. I was up until about 3 o'clock in the morning at the Mayflower Cigar After Party, which was a ton of fun. We had a great time. We were at Shelley's Backroom Cigar Bar, which is a frequent spot of mine, and we were up very late. President Trump, who's got a few years on me, was up much later than I was. He went to many more parties than I did. He shook many more hands than I did, and also was the president. On top of all of the physical demands of people in the government and around the government right now, he also was the president, signing executive orders, hundreds of executive actions, well over 1,000 pardons, installing all of his people into the government, dealing with the media, dealing with the bureaucracy, dealing with legislators, dealing with the emotion of becoming the president again. And this guy shows up in the morning for the national service at the National Cathedral, and this ridiculous priestess decides to lecture him on all sorts of heretical nonsense. It was totally, totally crazy. The only reason I could even sort of keep my eyes open is because of all of those delicious Mayflower cigars I had at the party the night before. Make sure that you celebrate with President Trump and the Daily Wire and Mayflower. Bring the celebration home with you. Mayflower cigars, the perfect way to keep this spirit of exuberance alive. This guy is a total machine, President Trump. A total machine. I can't get over it. I'm not 38, okay? I'm 34. President Trump is 78 years old. He's got more than 40 years on me. And this guy has more energy than anybody I saw in Washington, D.C. And he sits there morning after the big day, and he listens to that very, very silly lecture. Now, why? Why go? Why did President Trump go? Why did I go to this thing? Trump's thesis, his inauguration thesis, which he said right after the swearing in, was that God saved Trump's life so that he could make America great again. That's why. That was it. He said, by all accounts, I should have had my head blown off in Pennsylvania, but this improbable providential act, this last minute turn of the head to go look at a graph, saved my life. And God saved my life for a purpose. Saved my life to make America great again. I had this thought too. When it was 3 o'clock in the morning after the inauguration, and everyone was saying, I don't really want to wake up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock to go make it to the National Prayer Service. I thought, if we really believe that there's a providential aspect to this election, if you believe there's a providential aspect to everything as I do, but it's so clear in this election, if you really believe that we need to bring religion back into public life, then it's important to have these kinds of ceremonies, to go to these kinds of ceremonies, to support them. If we're not going to do it, nobody will. There's a little bit of a question for Catholics as to whether Catholics can go to non-Catholic religious ceremonies, because Catholicism claims universal dominion, an exclusive religious claim because we are the bride of Christ, and this is the universal church is what Catholicism means. However, the church has been quite clear that we can go and participate in some of these events. We can't participate in the non-Catholic aspects of them. We can't say prayers that are contrary to the faith or anything like that. But we can participate. We can go and attend certain ceremonies. If a couple of Protestants get married or something, or if there's a national ceremony, a political ceremony. This is an official event capping off the inauguration of President Trump. But there obviously have to be some boundaries here. And this is what went totally awry with the Episcopalian service with this silly woman at the National Cathedral, because it wasn't just the pro-trans stuff, which is deeply scandalous. Look, first of all, it is just simply impossible for a woman to be a priest. St. Paul is clear about this in Scripture. Scripture is inerrant. It's just it cannot happen, okay? So in the late 20th century, when the Episcopalians and the Anglicans decided they were going to pretend that women can become priests, that invalidated their holy orders. After that, very quickly, the Church of England and the Episcopalian Church, which is its version in the United States, ceased to even have the trappings, really, of a serious religion and became basically an LGBTQ activist organization. And you heard that yesterday. That was quite clear. But it is really scandalous to have some woman who puts on a costume like a clown and pretends to be a priest, saying things that are contrary to the faith, advocating things that are hideous and deeply evil, like castrating little kids, all sorts of behaviors, things that are simply false as a matter of political theology, the notion that a nation can't enforce simple immigration laws. Even somewhat offensive when she says, yeah, we just need people to pick our grapes and, clean our homes. Who's going to clean our homes if we deport all the Mexicans? That's essentially what this Episcopalian priestess lady said. But it wasn't even just that. The National Prayer Service transgressed limits in other ways. There was an imam that spoke. There was a reading from the Quran there, and then there was a chanting of a Muslim call to prayer.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
What? Why did we do that why did we do that in the National Cathedral? I think Thomas Jefferson's probably rolling over in his grave at that. Now, I don't even really mean offense to our Muslim friends, our Muslim listeners out here. In many ways, one can have a much more fruitful conversation about profound things with a Muslim than with some modern Western lib secular atheist. But the chanting of the Muslim call to prayer does not belong in a cathedral of any sort. Usually when you hear the Muslim call to prayer in cathedrals, it's cathedrals that Muslims have conquered and stolen from Christians, like the Hagia Sophia, for instance. Why? Why would we? Now, I know why. The answer is because the people who run this pseudo church, people like this silly woman pretending to be a priest, they have a shallow faith, if they have faith at all. And because there is a kind of indifferentism that's set in to our public life, where we believe America, we believe in a way that is self-contradictory, that America is just an idea, but on the other hand, ideas don't matter. America's just an idea. It's not a people, it's not a history, it's not a geography, it's just an idea. But also, people of any creed can be fully American. Hold on, what do you mean creed? A creed is a belief, a creed is an idea. How can America be an idea, but America can be any idea? Then that means that America can be any damn thing at all, and then America's nothing. We have, by abolishing all of these limits, we've destroyed even the creedal notion of America. And that it wasn't just it. I really don't mean to pick on the Muslims here. I think that the real issue is the weakness of America's professing Christian types of creeds, which have eliminated themselves. And it wasn't just the Muslims. There was also some weird Buddhist thing. We'll get to that in a moment. First, I want to tell you about Birch Gold. Text Knowles, KNWLES, to 989898. Increased tariffs on our trade partners, tax cuts, regulation changes. Learn why gold is a viable diversification tactic now more than ever. Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust, is releasing their ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. To get your free copy along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold, text my name Knowles, KNWLES, to 989898. Here's the facts. The national debt continues to increase. Our interest payments on the national debt continue to increase. Gold is still your hedge against a weakened dollar. Birch Gold is still the company I trust to help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Text Knowles, KNWLES, to 989898 for your free copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era. There is no obligation. There's only information. I have a decent amount of gold in my portfolio in recent months. I've been very happy about that fact. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews, and thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold as well. Text Knowles to 989898 today. There was a dude who got up there at the National Prayer Service. He was a white guy, but I think his real name is Matt Regan, but he goes by Reverend Bup He, B-U-P space H-E-E. Bup He. And one of his prayers that he said at this service was, may all comma, not C-O-M-M-A, K-A-M-M-A, be resolved and the mind flower of wisdom bloom in Nibbana's eternal spring. What on earth does that mean? I'm not praying for that. I don't want Nibbana's eternal spring. I don't know what comma is. Why is that? Why are these words even being uttered in the National Cathedral? Cathedrals are Christian houses of worship. They're supposed to be, but now, unfortunately, it's just radical leftists like that silly bishopress woman wearing Christianity as a skin suit, but without any of the actual substance of Christianity. So then they invite in all of these people with views that are totally contradictory to Christianity to come in, and then what is the prayer, right? It's very difficult. When some of these eccentricities were going on, I was just praying the rosary in the cathedral. I thought, well, we'll get at least one Christian prayer in here, won't we? We need limits. Okay, and President Trump has responded. President Trump came out last night. He said the so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. True. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. True. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. seems to be right. She failed to mention the large number of illegal migrants that came into our country and killed people. Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. It is a giant crime wave that is taking place in the USA. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was a very boring and uninspiring one. She is not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology. I agree. I totally agree with that. There were some moments that were nice. The singer was very good. Macchio, he sang Ave Maria. That was beautiful. That was kind of the Catholic aspect of the ceremony. It was beautiful. There were some lovely traditional hymns that were sung, good, but a lot of it was too silly. A lot of it was bordered on wicked. A lot of it entered into the realm of wicked, like when they talk about castrating the kids. It was a symbol of the broader political problem that Trump has to deal with, which is we need to preserve what is still good and strong about America. That cathedral is a beautiful building. Some of the aspects of the ceremony were nice. We need to preserve what is still good and relatively solid about America, but we need to reestablish limits or we're going to look like a total clown show, which is what that ceremony looked like yesterday. Now, Trump is getting to work. Beyond the ceremonial stuff, he is getting down to brass tacks. One of the most significant changes that President Trump has wrought in the last 24 hours that very few people are talking about. President Trump rescinded an executive order from the 1960s. This is an executive order from Lyndon Johnson, EO 11246. What did EO 11246 do? It established affirmative action for federal contractors. Trump's executive order, rescinding that executive order, will ban all federal contractors from discriminating on the basis of race, which is exactly what affirmative action does. It discriminates on the basis of race. This could be the benefit of Trump and the Republicans being in the wilderness for 4 years. Had Trump just remained president after 2020, I don't know that you would get an executive order like this. This is so in the weeds. This is going back now 60 years to pull another executive order, to move the ball way down the field. Affirmative action is the beginning of DEI, all of these awful woke policies that people hate. Where does this come from? I think this comes from our political side, and Trump in particular, being in the wilderness, having a little bit of time, especially as the left is constantly trying to persecute us, and Trump in particular, having a little bit of time to refocus, say, okay, what is it that we believe? Wow, things are even worse than we thought they were. Wow, what would you do if you have a moment's reprieve, so you're not dealing with the constant business of politics? What would you do if maybe you could get back into power? Trump had 4 years to think about that. This is why we say our ways are not God's ways are not our ways, okay? We were so disappointed. I was crestfallen in 2020 when the election went to the Democrats, let's put it that way. I was so upset. But if the last 24 hours are any indication, the non-consecutive second Trump term might well be much, much better. The signs are all pointing that it will be much, much better than a consecutive second Trump term. On this point of DEI, Trump has also issued a memo closing all government DEI offices, effective practically immediately. Every single federal government agency was just ordered to begin closing all of their DEI offices, 5 p.m. deadline today. Here's the exact words of the memo. No later than 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, January 22nd. What are the agencies required to do? Send an agency-wide notice to employees informing them of the closure, asking employees if they know of any efforts to disguise these programs by using coded or imprecise language. A template agency-wide notice is attached. So saying you're going to close the offices, and if you even think about trying to establish a new office, the Office of Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity. It's not DEI, it's EID or something like that. If you try to mask these programs in some other way, we're going to get you. We're going to shut that down too. We're going to have these people rat on you, and we are going to root you out of the government. After A. B, send a notification to all employees of DEIA offices that they are being placed on paid administrative leave effective immediately, as the agency takes steps to close and all DEIA initiatives, offices, and programs. So we're not even going to let these DEI people continue to float around the government. You're out. We'll keep paying you for now. Don't worry. We don't want a legal fight about your paychecks or whatever, but you're out. Go home. This is like when Charles II showed up and he dissolved the parliament. That's like Trump, but he's not doing it to Congress. Trump is showing up to the bureaucracy. And he, like Charles II, he gets up there and he just bangs on the floor and he says, "Gentlemen, go home. You are not needed here, DEI offices." All out. This is really precise stuff. President Trump in the first term was sometimes criticized for being a little loose with his language, a little ambiguous. He had the right idea, but he wasn't turning the levers of power in the most efficient ways because of an advantage of Trump, which is that he was a Washington outsider, but he didn't know how the city worked. This is not Washington outsider machinations. This is Washington outsider instinct coupled with Washington insider tactics. Day one. This is good stuff. And then we get to the pardons, like our friends, the January 6thers. We'll get to that in one moment. First, I want to tell you about Lumen. Go to lumen.me/Knowles. Are you ready to jumpstart your health in 2025? I've discovered an incredible tool that gives real-time insight into my metabolism through something as simple as my breath. That's called Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. All you need to do is breathe into it first thing in the morning, and you will know exactly what's happening with your metabolism, whether you're burning fats or carbs. Based on your measurements, Lumen creates a personalized nutrition plan just for you. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game for all those 2025 New Year resolutions. Your metabolism is your body's engine. Powers everything you do. When you optimize your metabolic health, you can experience improved energy levels, better fitness results, and enhanced sleep quality. I've personally found that understanding my metabolism can totally transform my approach to health, especially if it's simple enough. That's what I love so much about Lumen. Just wake up, breathe into it, gives you everything you need to know for how you lead your day. Take the next step to improve your health. Lumen.me/Knowles. Get 20% off your Lumen. LUMEN.me/Knowles. 20% off your Lumen. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. President Trump has pardoned all of the January 6thers. Period. Full stop. There was a big question about this in the campaign. Would Trump let the January 6thers rot? Would Trump pardon some of the January 6thers, but not the really, really bad ones? That was kind of the middle ground. You heard that from a lot of Republicans. Or would he just pardon all of them? It appears that he's just pardoning all of them, including people who got really crazy sentences. I mean, all of the January 6thers who went to jail got some kind of crazy sentence. People who, went to jail for months or years even because they took selfies in the Capitol Rotunda. They weren't particularly violent. They moved Nancy Pelosi's lectern or whatever, getting all this time in prison. But you think of someone like Enrique Tarrio. Enrique Tarrio was the head of the Proud Boys. We were told the Proud Boys was a white supremacist neo-Nazi organization, and you have a black Hispanic guy, Enrique Tarrio, who's the head of it. It's kind of unusual. He was serving a 22-year prison sentence. For what? For conspiracy, to conspire, to collude, to do bad stuff. It was totally insane. Trump has pardoned him, commuted sentences of all these people, 1,500 people. The Federal Bureau of Prisons said 211 people had been released from federal facilities following Trump's order. This is more sweeping than some people predicted, and it serves a political purpose. There are going to be some, even on the right, who say, well, it shouldn't have been all of them. He should have left some of them either in prison or should have at least left this mark on their criminal records. What this tells you is that Trump wants the statement to be that the January 6th prosecutions were not just individually unjust, but systematically unjust. That's what this is about. Trump here with these pardons is making a statement about January 6th, the worst day in the history of this reigning republic, about the January 6th prosecutions. Had he pardoned or commuted the sentences of some people but left a significant number of people in prison or with this mark on their records, he would be saying the January 6th prosecutions went too far. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying the whole January 6th thing was a political operation It was a setup. It was a hoax. It was a political op. The whole thing was rotten to its core. The January 6th Select Committee committed crimes. And Joe Biden, don't forget, this also probably is a response to Joe Biden's preemptive pardoning of the January 6th Committee, which committed crimes, which hid evidence, which hid information that was exculpatory to people on the right. So this is a little bit of a tit for tat too. If any libs are out there, hard libs who are really miffed about this pardon, you have no one to thank but Joe Biden. Okay, but even without the Biden pardon, Trump is saying the whole January 6th thing was a political operation, and so we're going to wipe that whole thing away. None of that should have happened. Trump requested security forces to the Capitol. Pelosi said no. Then we saw all this footage years later that actually the Capitol Police let some of these people in, these insurrectionists, it appeared to be a guided tour around the Capitol. Hold on, this is not what we were told it was. The whole thing just looked like an op, and now it's over. Speaking of pardons, President Trump is also pardoning Ross Ulbricht. Who is Ross Ulbricht? He is the founder of the Silk Road, which was this dark, hidden internet black market for drugs and reportedly contract killings and all sorts of really dark stuff, paid for usually with cryptocurrency, really with Bitcoin. This guy got caught and he was serving a life sentence. A life sentence without the possibility of parole since 2015. This is going on 10 years now. He was convicted on charges that included distributing narcotics and conspiring to commit computer hacking. So this was really what got him. It was the illegal drug sales, and those drug sales contributed to the death of at least 6 people. So he was serving this life sentence without the possibility of parole. I don't really care ideologically to pardon this guy. I actually think it's good to be tough on these guys. I don't think there's some right. I'm not an anarchist. I'm not a libertarian. I don't think there's some right to black markets to sell drugs or anything else. I have no problem in principle with this guy spending his entire life in prison. I mean, that's not a popular view anymore, but I'm a conservative. I'm not a radical libertarian or anarchist or anything like that. I have no problem in principle with this guy spending his life in prison, as long as the law is applied fairly, and as long as the other drug dealers and the other criminals are receiving harsh sentences too. The problem is today, on the one hand, we're being told by our political order, we need to let the drug dealers out of prison. How strange is that? At the same time that the political elite tell us we need to let all the drug dealers out of prison, Joe Biden commuting the sentences of all these pro-drug people, the left trying to liberalize drug laws, legalize drugs. On the other hand, then this guy who basically just was a drug dealer with Bitcoin, that guy is going to serve a life sentence without possibility of parole. Well, that seems totally discordant. It seems like they were going after him, maybe for more ideological hobby horses. So Trump pardons him. He says, I just called the mother of Ross William Ulbricht. I think he actually spelled it Ulbricht, but it's Ulbricht, to let her know that in honor of her and the libertarian movement, which supported me so strongly, it was my pleasure to have just signed a full and unconditional pardon of her son, Ross. The scum that worked to convict him were some of the same lunatics who were involved in the modern day weaponization of government against me. He was given 2 life sentences plus 40 years. Ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. So what do we take away from this? Right there, he says it right there, in honor of the libertarian movement. I'm not a libertarian, so it doesn't really do that much for me. But I do like part of the subtext of this. I was there. I was at the Bitcoin conference when people were, and the Bitcoin conference was largely made up of libertarians. People were really campaigning to free Ross Ulbricht. And they said, Trump will support you, but this is a big issue for us. You got to free Ross Ulbricht. And he said, yes, I will. And so what's he doing here? He's just keeping his promise. He's saying, hey, allies, you had my back. I'm going to have your back. Even with the January 6thers, these people who they went out there, they demonstrated for Trump. Some got a little carried away. Some were federal agents who hated Trump probably. But so they go out there, they support this guy. And Trump is saying, hey, I got you. You're being unfairly targeted because you've aligned yourself with my side of things. You've gone out on a limb. Don't worry, I got you. Hey, even the way he's speaking here, I really like this because he's not saying, I am a libertarian and I really care about libertarianism. He goes, yeah, look, to help out the libertarian movement, which supported me because I said that I would do this, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to keep my promises. Watch me. While Washington, D.C. was just full, everything going on, constant churning of events, so much to do in the early days of being president. And Trump just says, I'm keeping this promise. I'm keeping that promise. I'm moving. I mean, just working non-stop. And speaking of crypto, Trump is now a crypto billionaire. I meant to get to this story yesterday, but there's just too much going on. There's the Trump meme coin. The Trump meme coin was launched a day or two before Trump was inaugurated. It now accounts for 89% of Trump's net worth. Trump's crypto portfolio is now reported, who knows, it changes by the hour, but it is, as of recently, worth up to $58 billion on paper, which makes Donald Trump one of the 25 richest people in the world, in principle, on paper. Now, the Trump coin is not a true coin in itself. It's a token that's issued on the Solana blockchain. There's also Melania coin. But now Trump is a crypto billionaire. The vast majority of his wealth on paper is in crypto. And so people are saying, oh, I don't like this. This is weird. I don't know. Does this raise emoluments questions? Why is he doing this? Does crypto have any value? Do these meme coins have any value? The meme coins themselves say that these are not really investment instruments, so don't gamble all your money away on them. So what is this? Is it just Trump trying to enrich himself? Look, Trump is good at making money. He's been a rich guy all his life. But even when he was bankrupt, he was still sort of a rich guy because he had this comeback. He had that art of the comeback, both in business and in politics. But I don't think this is just about enriching himself personally, because Trump is not only personally pro-crypto, he is politically pro-crypto. I was at that Bitcoin conference when Trump embraced crypto. This is a signal to me. The launching of the Trump meme coin is a signal to me Trump is going to fulfill his promises to the Bitcoin community, not just on freeing Ross Ulbricht from the Silk Road, that maybe he's going to get the federal government to invest a little bit in crypto, that maybe he's going to turn the government to be supportive of crypto and Bitcoin. And he's going to make some money in the meantime. He's showing that this is a real avenue for storing wealth, for transacting. He's basically saying this is a real thing. I don't know. I've always been kind of skeptical of crypto, but that's the signal here. It's not just a personal one. It's a political one. Now, speaking of investments on slightly more tangible assets, Lindsey Graham is coming out, CBS Face the Nation, to discuss the massive border investment that the Trump administration and the Republicans in Congress plan to make for border security.
Do you have a top line number yet on how much this is all going to cost?
Yes, $100 billion for border security through reconciliation would be enough to hire ICE agents, create new detention beds, and finish the wall and put technology in place over 4 years. $200 billion will be given to the military to make it more capable of deterring China. $100 billion for border, $200 billion for the military. I met with Mike Johnson yesterday. He's a dear friend. I admire him greatly. He has a political problem in the House. He wants to do one big, beautiful bill. I've never been more worried about an attack on our homeland than I am now. With the rise of ISIS in Afghanistan and wars all over the world, I think the number one priority for the Republican Party should be to secure that border. You need new money to do it. And if we don't, we're playing Russian roulette with our own national security.
Absolutely right. So you have, even here, I think it's helpful that Lindsey Graham is the one going out, because Lindsey Graham is sometimes considered a little bit squishier. He's a little bit more moderate. Sometimes they call him Lindsey Grahamnesty even. And he's the one who's coming out saying, no, we're doing it, baby. The Republicans in the House and the Senate might have all sorts of divisions, but we are unified on this major campaign promise from Trump and from many of them when they were going out to get votes for themselves. The golden age of America is here. From our exclusive inauguration coverage live from D.C. to the first 100 days of President Trump in office, we cover it all, uncensored, unfiltered, ad-free, exactly how we intend it to be. The DailyWire does not just report the news. We go straight to the center of it to give you the facts. Live daily shows from the most trusted voices in conservative media, groundbreaking, culture-shaping, premium content, hit movies, explosive documentaries, series that actually matter. Not a DailyWire Plus member yet? Now is your moment. Get 47% off as we honor the 47th President of the United States. Use code 47 at checkout. That's 47% off when you go to dailywire.com/subscribe. Do not forget code 47 for 47% off, dailywire.com/subscribe. My favorite comment yesterday is from EG Microscope 5786. I'm gonna bring you behind the scenes here. Usually the producers send me comments before the show and they say, pick your favorite comment. This time everyone's traveling, everyone's a little scattered, so I didn't get the comments before. I said, you pick the comment, guys, but it better be really, really good. So we're gonna see if this truly is my favorite comment. They say, you would think a doctor helping people through a pandemic would never need a presidential pardon. You're so right. I do like that observation. Mr. Davies or Professor Jacob or Markella, whichever one of you picked that. It's a good comment, and it's a good point. Makes you wonder about Dr. Fauci. Democrats are really, really disheartened right now. The media are crestfallen. They realize that they've lost a lot of their mojo. Barack Obama, it seems like he's going to go into exile. Joe Biden, just done. I waved goodbye to him as Marine One took off. The Dems seem to recognize something is going radically wrong for them, except for the Democrats in Congress. They have not gotten that message. They do not seem to have moderated at all. Here is AOC's reaction to the inauguration of Trump.
All these journalists are like, Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Are you going to the inauguration? Let me make myself clear. I don't celebrate. So no, I'm not going to the inauguration tomorrow.
Okay, that's it. Trump's a, and that's why I'm not going to the inauguration. She doesn't believe that. She doesn't. Nobody seriously believes that Donald Trump is. I know some liberal judge in New York found Trump civilly liable, not for actually. George Stephanopoulos was sued, and CBS News, or ABC News rather, had to pay out a major settlement to Trump because of the defamation of saying what AOC just said about Trump. So AOC maybe wants to watch out as well, because CBS just had to pay out big over that very same claim, which a court ruled is false. But, there was this civil thing about some woman, some tabloid gossip columnist from the 1990s claimed 30 years after the fact that Trump groped her, harassed her, or even assaulted her in a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room or something. But this was after she went on TV and told Anderson Cooper that women want to be. And Anderson clearly was shocked by this and cut to commercial. And it was, I don't know. It didn't seem like the most credible accusation, but this was at the time when everyone was just trying to get Trump to not to appear on the ballot and maybe to even imprison him. So, okay, that's what the claim AOC is making. But I want you to zoom out from all of that. Even if you're a Democrat. I know there are many Democrats and liberals who listen to this show. Do you really think Donald Trump's a... Do you really think that? Look, no one's around, no one's listening. You're not on stage in a political debate. Do you really? But Donald Trump, the guy from The Apprentice, the billionaire playboy from Home Alone, who's never had a problem dating women, never had a problem having supermodels throw themselves at him. Donald Trump, he's a... You believe that? I don't think you believe that. What I think is AOC and the Democrats are really sad that Trump became president, and they don't want to go, and they want to take their ball and go home, and they want an excuse. They want some way to justify their pulling out of the political process, their undermining democracy, their refusing to participate in the peaceful transfer of power. They want to justify doing all the things that they've accused Trump of doing over the years. And the way they're going to do it, because they have nothing, they have absolutely nothing, is they're going to make this obscene and exaggerated comment. You're going to say Trump's call him a murderer too. Why not? He's a serial killer. It would be just as credible. No one really believes that. Do you know what else people don't believe? No one really believes, though I've been told many, many times over the last 24 hours, no one really believes that Elon Musk is a Nazi. But here's a little clip. This went viral. played on CNN, went viral on X, owned by Elon Musk. Here's the proof that Elon Musk is a Nazi. There it is. There it is. He did the Sieg Heil. He did the Roman salute, didn't he? And there it is right there. But hold on. Elon posted the full context of this gesture. Tell me if you think this man is a Nazi.
Victory feels like. Yeah! And this was no ordinary victory. This was a fork in the road of human civilization. Okay. This you know, there are elections that come and go. Some elections are, you know, important, some are not. But this one this one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you. It is thanks to you that the future of civilization is assured.
My heart goes out to you. Here to here, my heart goes out to you. Now, you might say, oh, Michael, it just doesn't make sense. Why would he make that weird kind of spastic movement with his arm? Did you see him walk on stage? Have you ever seen him walk on stage at one of these rallies? He's a quirky guy, okay? He comes out, he jumps up and down a little bit, he moves his arms in crazy ways. That's not surprising to me at all. You say, oh, my heart goes out to you. You know, did it once. This is Elon Musk, who, while interviewing the head of the Alternative for Deutschland, agreed with her, was talking with her about how Hitler was a communist, which is not true, but it's a popular refrain among people who, like Elon Musk, are libertarians, people who are classical liberals. Do you, just again, all right, hold on, come on, it's just us here, folks, okay? Even you Democrats and libs who are listening. You saw the clip. You think Elon Musk is a Nazi? You think Elon Musk is a Nazi? You really think that? No, you don't. No, you don't. And these kinds of attacks, I think, are so weak after all the hoaxes, including the very fine people hoax, during which liberals tried to pretend that Trump called Nazis fine people when he explicitly said, I'm not talking about Nazis. They should be condemned totally. Joe Biden launched his presidential campaign in 2020 on that lie. It's just collapsed, okay? Like Joe Biden, it's just collapsed. This, I don't know, it's weak stuff. This is the best they got. Trump's a Elon Musk is a Nazi. Who are you trying to convince? Who are you even trying to convince with that nonsense? Okay, back to Congress now. I don't think that 145 Democrats in the House voting against a bill to deport and murderers, I don't think that's going to play well either. And I'm not exaggerating there either. 145 Democrats just voted against a bill introduced by Nancy Mace to deport immigrants for sex crimes and domestic violence. And these are the worst of the worst. Nancy Mace introduces this bill, says, hey, look, before we get to deporting the millions and millions of other people who shouldn't be here illegally, can we all at least agree on the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act? This is a bill that passed the House with the support of 213 Republicans and 61 Democrats, which means that 145 Democrats voted against the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act. They voted in favor of violence against women by illegal aliens. But here's AOC. Trump's and I don't support. Oh, yeah, well, it's fine because 145 of you guys just voted literally to support actual in America illegally, people who shouldn't be here even if they didn't commit those crimes. You voted for that. Why? Because the highest political good for the Democrats is to expand their power. They believe the way to expand their power is to flood the country with foreigners who are statistically quite likely to vote for them and for their children and grandchildren to vote for them. And they will do anything to try to preserve that. They'll keep here. They'll keep murderers here. They'll keep drug dealers here. They'll allow Americans to be poisoned and killed. They'll do anything to try to keep that power, and it's not working. And as this election has represented this major shift, their strategy just hasn't worked out. Many of the Democrats in the presidential class, the Obamas, maybe the Bidens, in the media class, even in academia, they've said, okay, we have to rethink this. These House Democrats, because sometimes, I don't want to be stereotypical, but sometimes members of Congress, especially on the left, they're not the most agile thinkers in the world, let's put it that way. They're stuck in this rut. They say, we're going to double down. I know how we're going to improve our votes next time. We're going to vote to defend illegal alien. That's a good idea. Let's see how that works out for you. Now, Trump has come in with this clear vision. That's what we've been talking about all show. He's represented this vision with a new image. Trump has his official inaugural portrait. And this was released a few days ago, but I think he's lived up to the image in just the past 48 hours. It's this picture clearly based on the mugshot of Trump. It's the same kind of expression. It's almost a recreation of it. And it's Trump looking real serious. Mouth totally flat. Eyes a little bit squinted. He's looking clearly at you. One eyebrow a little bit up. Head down. No one can accuse this man of not understanding show business. It's a huge contrast with what we saw for Trump's first official photo. Trump's first official photo, standing up straight, shoulders back, head up, big smile, all happy. Go back to the new one. The new one, a little bit more leaning forward a little bit. Even just that, the lean. Trump's not going to leave anything to chance. He's not going to allow months and years to go by trying to confirm his appointees. He's not thinking about this on the job. Leaning in, he's had 4 years to prepare for this. And there's no more Mr. Nice Guy. And Trump has been talking about this on the trail. There should be no surprise that this is the symbol of his new administration. But we say talk is cheap, right? However, Trump is backing up the talk with words, with actions. This is like, Trump talked about himself as a big tough guy for so many years. Some people wondered, is he really a tough guy or does he just talk a good talk? He's a New Yorker. New Yorkers can talk real well. Well, when he was shot in Pennsylvania and he stood up, so let me get my shoe on. He stands up facing down people who could still be shooting him. And he just yells, fight, fight, fight. He proved he's the guy he said he was. It wasn't just talk. He can actually walk the walk. I think that's what you're seeing the first 2 days of this administration. He said, we're going to be serious this time. We're going to get things done much more efficiently, much quicker. We know the kind of punches we need to throw to really weaken this awful liberal establishment. First 48 hours, he's proving it. Now, speaking of portraits and courage, the quarterback of the Redskins, who, what's the new name of the Redskins? What do they call it now?
The Commanders.
The Commanders. The command. This is the Trump era, baby. We're going back to the Redskins like tomorrow. At this pace, they're going to be the Redskins again by Friday, okay? But regardless, the quarterback of the Redskins is coming out, and he is restoring normality even to the NFL, which has become awful in recent years, by talking about God, by talking about our Lord, Jesus Christ, on the football field. But we got to get to that story tomorrow because we're running out of time, okay? So I'm a tease. Well, that's the tease. This is not just going on in politics and the government. There are cultural effects of even the first days of the Trump administration. But today's Woke Wednesday. The rest of the show continues now. You do not want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles, KNWLAS, at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.